How was Shimei to ensure he wouldn't be killed, and why did he break this oath? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of 1 Kings on walking through the Bible.
Glory of his cross.
Today we're going to be discussing 1 Kings chapter 2, verses 36 to 46. But before we do that, let's read the passage. If you have a Bible with you, turn to 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 36. But if you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So 1 Kings chapter 2, beginning at verse 36. Then the king sent and called for Shimei and said to him, Build yourself a house in Jerusalem and dwell there, and do not go out from there anywhere. For it shall be on the day you go out and cross the brook Kidron, know for certain you shall surely die. Your blood shall be on your own head. And Shimei said to the king, The saying is good. As my lord the king has said, so your servant will do. So Shimei dwelt in Jerusalem many days. Now it happened at the end of 3 years that 2 slaves of Shimei ran away to Achish, the son of Maacah, king of Gath. And they said to Shimei, and they told Shimei, saying, Look, your slaves are in Gath. So Shimei arose, saddled his donkey, and went to Achish at Gath to seek his slaves. And Shimei went and brought his slaves from Gath. And Solomon was told that Shimei had gone from Jerusalem to Gath and had come back. Then the king sent and called for Shimei and said to him, Did I not make you swear by the Lord and warn you, saying, Know for certain that on the day you go out and travel anywhere, you shall surely die? And you said to me, The word I have heard is good. Why then have you not kept the oath of the Lord and the commandment that I gave you? The king said moreover to Shimei, You know, as your heart acknowledges, all the wickedness that you did to my father David. Therefore the Lord will return your wickedness on your own head. But King Solomon shall be blessed, and the throne of David shall be established before the Lord forever. So the king commanded Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and he went out and struck him down, and he died. Thus the kingdom was established in the hand of Solomon. In this chapter, Solomon has been executing judgments against those threatening his throne and those in David's court who deserved punishment. Adonijah, his brother, was executed for attempting again to take the throne, this time by stealth. Abiathar was banished to his hometown because he followed Adonijah, but was not killed because he was a priest of God. Joab was not so lucky, as he was killed as justice for Joab taking the innocent lives of Abner and Amasa. Next, Solomon turns to Shimei. Shimei was the man who cursed David as David was fleeing Absalom, but the man who seemingly repented upon David's return, after which David promised Shimei that he would not die for this. However, we discussed earlier in the chapter that David did not forget what Shimei did and charged Solomon in his wisdom to deal with Shimei. We said that perhaps there's more to the story than the writer of 1 Kings gives us. Perhaps Shimei wasn't as repentant as we previously thought. Or perhaps David's words to Solomon are more nuanced than our English translations make it seem. But although David wouldn't kill Shimei himself, he did want Shimei properly dealt with for cursing the Lord's anointed. But it is perhaps because of David's oath that Shimei isn't immediately killed like Joab was. Instead, Solomon basically treated Jerusalem as Shimei's city of refuge. He told Shimei that he was to build a house in Jerusalem. For remember, Shimei was from Bahurim. And as long as Shimei remained within the city walls, his life would be spared. Thus Solomon was showing his wisdom, both honoring David's oath and punishing Shimei for cursing David. Instead of arguing, Shimei agreed to Solomon's terms, and for 3 years he lived by them. However, when 2 of Shimei's slaves fled to Gath, to Achish, the son of Maacah, Shimei decided to go after them. Now, whether this is the same Achish we met back in 1 Samuel that David fled to about 50 years earlier, we can't be certain. But whether this was the same Achish or one of his descendants is immaterial to the events found here. Word got back to Solomon that Shimei had left Jerusalem, and so Shimei was summoned before the king. Solomon told Shimei that he had sworn before God that he would remain in Jerusalem as punishment for his sin against David, an oath that he now broke. In doing this, his heart showed all the wickedness in his heart, in that just like he had blasphemed the Lord's anointed by cursing David, he again went against the commands of the Lord's anointed, something that was deserving of death. What Solomon is saying is that Shimei didn't actually respect the Lord's anointed, even though his words said otherwise, for if he had, he wouldn't have broken his oath. Rather, he would have come to Solomon seeking that his slaves be returned. And so, like with Joab, Benaiah was commanded to kill Shimei for the sin he committed. In doing this, Shimei wasn't directly executed for cursing David, but breaking his oath concerning the punishment for that sin. Solomon thus did right in executing Shimei, and his kingdom was further established. In the next chapter, we have an event that Solomon is often remembered for, and one that showed that at least in the beginning, Solomon had a heart set on obeying God. What was that event? We'll discuss that, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of 1 Kings chapter 3, verses 1 to 15, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time.
Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.